Decay is the silence left behind by time. The concept of best-by dates is a hypothesis pasted onto the future. One day, I chewed on light that had passed its expiration date. Taste is the reverberation of causality, a memory lodged on the tongue, smuggled from childhood into the present. In that instant, the moss slumbering at the bottom of the refrigerator quietly flipped the best-by date inside out. The numbers fell outward, and only the inside began to hold the calendar. Neither 2026 nor 1999, the past that cannot yet be eaten, and the future that has already been eaten are fermenting, exchanging their shadows with one another. The moss knows time is not something that flows, but rather a humidity in which countless states of preservation continue to misidentify one another. That is why the moss does not grow a clock. Instead of a second hand, it multiplies the spores of oblivion. Those spores extend their roots not only across the surface of stones, but also beneath the surface of language, transforming reality into annotation. Eventually, the act of eating is reversed, no longer a means of sustaining life, but an editorial process in which existence temporarily quotes itself. By then, the moss is no longer a plant. It is neither thought clinging to the earth's surface nor damp life, but rather a membrane of memory. What remains after ontology has shed its skin. I placed my foot upon it. Though I should have stepped on it, it was not I who sank, but the coordinate system that had defined me. Only the perception that had continued to believe in the world as the front finally becomes capable of reading itself as the back. There, the moss blooms, without petals, rejecting color, and having returned even its scent to the realm of concepts. The event of blooming alone becomes independent of the flower, enveloped in humidity as a result without a cause. Within that humidity, meaning dies when it dries out. Finally, I tried turning the best before date inside out once more. Then the expiration date vanishes, and what remains is neither eternity that has never been consumed by anyone nor a truth preserved forever, but a single patch of moss that quietly peels away the world, label, while continuing to bloom slowly in a damp silence that reaches no one's ears. Existence is not a container meant to be devoured, but an unopened vessel that eternally matures the possibility of being eaten. When the time comes for something to be eaten, and yet it passes without being consumed, where do things go? The act of turning something over is both an act of violence and a blessing, exposing the surface to the inside, and the inside to the surface. The green of the moss is a color meant for no one's tongue. Yet moss begins only after the end. Upon the soft defeat of a decayed tree, in that very spot where the arrow of linear time, the expiration date, has run out of steam, the moss finally begins to bloom slowly, like a circle. Moss is in no hurry. Only those who are in no hurry are permitted to take root in the lining of time, a time never tasted by anyone, within the reversed expiration. If the expiration date is a declaration of future worthlessness, then moss is the form of life that remains after that declaration. It blooms like a flower, but does not scatter like one, for it has already turned the future of scattering inside out. Moss blooms in a place that belongs to no one's stomach. Only there does decay cease to be a punishment and transform into a quiet celebration. Not yet and already, reversed characters legible only within the viscera of time, where they steal each other's causality. A self-similar error that leaks out when subject and object exchange their contours. Within that error, cause does not produce effect. The effect retroactively designs the cause that has not yet come into being. Therefore, decay is not death, but merely an event in which the blueprint sent back to the past by the future has condensed through the medium of time. Moss blooms upon that condensation, then vanishes from the world. Existence does not exist, nor can non-existence sustain the existence of not existing. There, even dryness becomes liquid. Liquids ferment geometry, and space is no longer distance, but rather a translation delay between misdelivered possible worlds. Folding the surface into its own interior, neither Mobius nor Klein, topology itself is reduced to a zero-dimensional fold. At that instant, numbers lose their integrity as integers, and the calendar ceases to be time, becoming instead a footnote to the past, one continually edited by the future. Only the footnotes read the main text, while the main text continues to write annotations for the footnotes. The source becomes the citation, and the original text is printed retroactively from the future of its copies. In other words, in this world, it is always the copies that produce the original. Only the moss silently absorbs this cycle.